Imagine a routine day, a Mandan call, suddenly colliding with an unexplainable phenomenon a police officer, en abandon car, and a miracle of the Virgin Mary dead defy all logic. But before we delve into this extraordinary tale, tell me in the comments below, where are you watching from, and what time is it there right now? I'm eager to see how far the blessing of the Virgin Mary truly reach. For 12 years, Michael had served as a police officer in Ohio. HIS carry was a steady rhythm of work, rapport, and calls de voix of high-octane heroics or cinematic action. One October Tuesday, his dispatcher relayed yet another call about an abandoned vehicle, the third that week alone. Michael noted the address, slid into his patrol car, and drove off, expecting just another forgotten sedan, another routine report, another day exactly like the last. The address led him to a neighborhood you'd instantly recognize, not because you've necessarily been there, but because every city hold a place just like it. Here, simple houses line the streets, some meticulously cared for, boasting manicured lawn and vibrant flower bed, while others pleaded for a fresh coat of paint, their grass grown wildly untamed. On the corner, an ancient tree stood sentinel, a universal landmark for all who lived there. You know that house, just beyond the big tree, people would say. It's there. Children speed onto the sidewalks after school, their laughter echoing through the air. A neighborhood dog barked its familiar greeting to passers-by, and an elderly woman sat on her porch, quietly observing the world unfold. Life moved at a slower, more deliberate pace here, names were known, and faces were familiar. A Michael turned onto the street, and spotted the car from a distance, anchored down on an anti-low between two houses. It was a model from perhaps 15 years prior, its original color long swallowed by layer of accumulated dirt. Michael pulled his patrol car to a stop directly in front, opened the door, and stepped out. From the house next door, an elderly man was already approaching, moving with surprising haste for his age. Officer, the man exclaimed, relief evident in his voice, glad you finally made it. My apology for the delay, Michael replied, we've been swamped with calls. He walked towards the man. How long has this car been here? Michael asked. The man scratched his head, pondering. 3 months at least, maybe more. It just appeared one night and never left. We waited, thinking the owner would return, but nothing. Did you see who left it here? No, sir. Woke up one morning, and there it was. Nobody saw a thing. Has anyone touched the car? Tried to open it? No, we left it alone. Called the police, and waited. Alright, I'll take a look. Thank you, the man nodded, then retreated to his house, took Michael noticed him watching intently from his window. Michael approached the car slowly. Blades of grass had aggressively reclaimed the space around it, tall enough to partially obscure its flat tire. DRY branch lighted the hood, beneath a thick blanket of dust. Michael circled the vehicle, his gaze scanning every detail, a cracked rear window, a passenger side mirror hanging precariously, a dented bumper. He reached for the driver's door handle and pulled. It opened. Unlocked. It swung away, dead distinct, acrid smell it suffocating scent of a place sealed off for far too long, of stagnant air, damp decay, and utter abandonment. Michael recoiled, taking a deep gulp of fresh air, before peering inside. The interior was precisely as anticipated, a pervasive coating of dust suffocated the dashboard, steering wheel, and torn seats. Yellowed foam protruded from gaping hole, and the ceiling bore the telltale stain of moisture damage. Nothing of value remained. The radio was gone. The glove compartment, when he opened it, was entirely empty. Michael retrieved his clipboard from the patrol car and returned to the abandoned sedan, beginning his routine report, make, model, approximate year, general condition. Standard procedure. He was nearly finished when his eyes caught something. On the passenger seat, an image rested. Michael froze. It was a statue of the Virgin Mary. He tilted his head, stepping closer. The figure, crafted from painted plastic, stood about 30 cm tall. The Virgin Mary, draped in a soft blue mantle, enclasped in prayer, her seren face cast gently downward beautiful, delicate, exquisitely made. But it wasn't the craftsmanship that held his gaze. It was something else entirely. Michael scanned the caress interior again, dust clung to the dashboard, the steering wheel, the seats, the floor everything. Then he looked back at the statue. Not a single grain of dust marred its surface. The color remained vibrant, the blue of her mantle softly radiant, her face perfectly clean, I've plucked from a store shelf just that morning, I've Someone had placed it there moment ago. The car had been abandoned for months. The dust spoke of time, the decay screamed neglect. The doors weren't locked, but the uniform layer of grime across everything screamed that no one had entered in a very long time. There were no marks, no telltale sign of recent disturbance. So, how could this statue exist in such pristine condition? Clean, perfect, untouched. How? Michael whispered. He reached out and carefully lifted the statue. Have you ever encountered something that simply defied explanation? Something you stare at, searching desperately for a logical reason, only to find none? Michael stood there, the car door agape, his eyes fixed on the image of the Virgin Mary. He gently placed the statue on the passenger seat of his patrol car, returned to the abandoned vehicle, completed his report, grabbed his radio, and called for a tow truck. Half an hour later, the tow truck arrived, UTS crew efficiently performing their duty. Michael signed the paperwork, watched a day all the way the hall, forgotten sedan, and then climbed back into his patrol car. The statue remained on the passenger seat. Other calls awaited, other duty beckoned. When his shift concluded, Michael returned to the station. He put away his equipment, then lifted the statue from the car seat. He stood there, holding it, gazing at the serene face of Our Lady. There was something profoundly stirring about that statue, a feeling he couldn't take it articulate. It wasn't a fear, nor confusion. It was an overwhelming sense of peace, if the statue had always been meant to be there, if it had waited in that car, specifically for him to find. He knew he shouldn't keep it, but a part of him wanted to. Taking a deep breath, Michael registered the statue as a found item, completed the necessary paperwork, and carried it to the evidence storage room. He placed it on a shelf amid countless other forgotten objects, then left. But he couldn't stop thinking about it. Days blurred into weeks on, 2, then 3. The image of that perfectly clean, serene face, and the strange peace it evoked, would not leave his mind. A month later, the case was officially closed. No one had claimed the statue. Michael returned to the storage room, filled out the release form, signed the clearance, retrieved the statue, placed it back on his car seat, and drove home. Michael lived with his mother, not out of necessity or financial constraint, but because she needed him. Sarah sat in her favorite armchair by the window, where she spent most of her time now, gazing out, or rather, trying to. The soft afternoon light filtered through the curtain, gently illuminating her face. Sarah was 62, her grey hair pulled back in a simple bun. How was your day? She asked, without turning her head. Qui? Michael replied. He walked closer. He brought you something. Sarah slowly turned her head toward him, her eyes searching the space, attempting to focus, but failing. Each time, it broke Michael's heart to witness his mother's futile struggle to see. He knelt before her chair and carefully placed the image into her hand. Sarah lowered her head, her finger tracing the contour of the statue, the cool plasté, the delicate fold of the mantle, Our Lady's gentle face, her clasped hand. She didn't need to see to know what it was. It's the Virgin Mary, she whispered. Yes, Mom. Sarah held the statue with both hands, brought it close to her chest, and closed her eyes. Michael watched a single, silent tear escape, rolling down her cheek, unhidden. He remained on his knees, unsure what to say, what to do. Sarah opened her eyes again, looking at him, or at the space where she perceived him to be. Thank you, son. Thank you so much. Her voice trembled with emotion. Michael placed his hand on her shoulder, gently squeezing. Do you want me to put it somewhere? Here, Sarah pointed to the small table beside her chair. Right here next to me. Michael carefully took the statue and placed it on the table, close enough for her to reach. Sarah turned her head towards the image, extended her hand, and touched the Virgin Mary's face with her fingertip. Michael headed to the kitchen to warm dinner, before leaving the room, and looked back. His mother's hand still rested on the statue, her head bowed, lips moving in silent prayer. And they felt it again inexplicable feeling from the patrol car if that image had appeared in that abandoned car for a reason, meant specifically for him to bring home to his mother. Michael didn't sleep well that night. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling, replaying the image of the clean statue in the dirty car, and his mother's face as she touched the Virgin Mary. It had been his agonizing months since his mother had begun losing her sight. Sarah had always been an active woman, constantly engaged, constantly moving. At first, it was merely difficulty reading small print. Then, trouble watching television, followed by challenge with household tasks. She stopped venturing out, stopped attending church. I don't want people to feel sorry for me, she said. Now, she spent her days confined to that armchair, simply sitting, gazing out the window, waiting for the hours to pass. The doctor had been unequivocal, there was no cure, no treatment. Her vision would inevitably worsen until she could no longer see anything at all. It was only a matter of time, and Michael felt utterly helpless. He could work, pay bill, maintain the house, cook, he couldn't give his mother what she truly needed. A week passed, the routine unbroken. Michael worked, returned home, dined with his mother, slept, and repeated. But something subtly shifted, something small, almost imperceptible at first. Sarah began talking more, not much, but more than before. She inquired about his day, shared snippets she'd heard on the radio, offered comments about the weather. 3 weeks slipped by. Michael arrived home from work one Thursday afternoon and opened the door. The immediate aroma of food enveloped him. He stood rooted in the entryway. It had been months since he'd been greeted by that scent. Mom, Amir, he called, he sat quickening. He dropped his things and hurried to the kitchen. Sarah was making dinner, deftly chopping vegetables, stirring a pot. Dose automatique, un grain gesture we perform without conscious thought, knowing her kitchen by heart. But Sarah hadn't been able to do that for months. Sarah noticed him. She turned and looked now with that empty, lost gaze, searching into the void. She looked directly at him, and she saw him. Her eyes welled with tears. The spoon slipped from her hand, clattering to the floor. Sarah broke her onto her face, covering her mouth, trembling. Her voice cracked, I can see you. Michael couldn't contain himself. He crossed the kitchen in 2 swift strides, enveloping his mother in a tight embrace. Sarah was weeping uncontrollably. I can see you, I can see you, she repeated, as trying to convince herself, as gripped by a wondrous fear. It wasn't a dream. I can see your face, your eyes. Michael was crying too now, holding his mother close. How many times had he fantasized about this very moment? How many sleepless nights had he spent praying, begging for something, anything, to happen, for her to get better? And now, it was happening. It was truly happening. Michael immediately scheduled an appointment with the ophthalmologist. He needed answer. It was the same ophthalmologist who had delivered the original devastating diagnosis. The doctor first reviewed Sarah's whole exam, a frown deepening on his brow. He then ran the test again, asking Sarah to read letters, identify color, and track point of light. She answered everything correctly. The doctor fell silent. Mrs. Sarah, he finally said, his voice strangely hushed, you can see. I know, Sarah replied softly. No, you don't understand, the doctor insisted. This simply doesn't happen. This type of problem doesn't reverse. It doesn't get better. He looked at Michael, then back at Sarah. I have no scientific explanation for this. In the car on the way back home, Sarah remained qui est fort à long moment. Son She said suddenly, do you believe in miracle? Michael was driving, staring straight ahead, his mind adrift. He thought of the image of the Virgin Mary in the abandoned car, pristine amid the field, perfect where everything else was broken. He thought of his mother, who had been losing her sight, and now saw more clearly than he could. I don't know, Mom, he confessed, but he saw you unable to do so many things. He stopped at a red light, turning to look at her. Then maybe do believe. The image of the Virgin Mary remained on the small table in their living room. Sarah began returning to church every Sunday, just as before, yet profoundly changed. She resumed crocheting, reading the newspaper, doing housework, but she also embraced new endeavors. She started visiting members of her church those who were alone, who needed companionship. I know how it feels, she would tell them. I know what it's like to feel utterly hopeless. Was it a miracle of the Virgin Mary? Doctor would likely say no, that it was something they don't yet understand, some scientific explanation waiting to be discovered. But Sarah knows the truth. And Michael knows it too. Because some events, some profound occurrence, simply cannot be explained, cannot be understood, cannot be articulated. We can only stand in awe, and be grateful. Do you believe in the miracle of the Virgin Mary? If this story has touched your heart, please subscribe to our channel and turn on the notification bell. Share your own experience with miracle in the comments below, and consider sharing this video with someone who need to renew their hope today. May the Virgin Mary continue to bless and protect you and your family. Amen.